Initially, coming together, we started with 4 co-founders, and I would say we started with pretty little funding. We all personally invested around 10 grand, but before we even made a bank account together, we came back to Hawaii not even knowing what vehicle we were going to get our product to the consumer with. So we didn't know whether we were going to try a farmer's market, hop straight into brick and mortar, and very spontaneously we just found this offer for a 1977 Love's Bakery food truck on Craigslist. And we went out, it was listed for $5,000, but went out with a family friend who also flips cars for a living. He bargained it down to 2 grand for us, and we all pulled out 500 right there, put it together, and we're like, let's do this.
I did not take in any outside funding for Pono Home, mainly because my media company is able to support the growth during its startup phase. So that was really nice to have something else that was subsidizing. It was paying my salary plus, putting in a lot of money to Pono Home's development. So that was really nice. So I haven't actually taken on any outside funding for Pono Home yet, except for the Energy Accelerator. So the Energy Accelerator is a clean tech incubator based here in Hawaii. It was born from the Pacific International Center for High Technology Research, also known as PICTER, which is working with the Navy to try and create solutions for climate change, fossil fuel dependency, and other issues that are facing the military. The military, specifically the Department of Naval Research, the Office of Naval Research, gave PICTER a lot of money to start this clean tech incubator. They then turn around and help fund and incubate small businesses like mine that are clean technologies that the Navy can then use and expand to help reduce our dependence on foreign oil.
When we started, it was right after the .com thing, and there was still funding, but not as loose as it used to be, and people really wanted a lot of equity when they funded you. So we went back and forth on funding, and actually we ended up just using credit cards. We must have had 10 or 20 credit cards, all of them 0% interest. So we just cycled through one, and then when the time came up on that card and the 0% ended, we switched to another card, balance transferred over, and we just did that. And so we just managed and made sure that we didn't, forget something and get all the interest charges. But that's how we initially funded. It's probably $100,000 of credit card debt that we had.
So when I was looking to do kind of my next move, I had a quarter life crisis. I was working, for the Convention and Visitors Bureau in San Jose, heading up their marketing and research department, and realized I hated my job and decided to take 6 months off and actually worked with a career coach and a life coach. And part of that was looking at things that I was interested in. And of those things I was interested in, one was technology, one was wine. I was really interested in wine. One was, working for myself, urban planning. There were like a whole bunch of different things. But when I kind of went out on this journey to figure out what I was really passionate about, what I wanted to do, I did have savings. So I did have quite a bit of savings that I was willing and ready to live off of. So I was kind of living off that at first. And then we bootstrapped and self-funded the company between the two of us. And then, of course, got help from, some family. Question. I think at the beginning, my co-founder wanted to keep as much equity as possible. And he was a pretty talented engineer or developer. And we were both able to kind of live off of what we were able to kind of do that for each month. So there was no kind of immediate, hey, we should go raise money. I think in hindsight, we should have raised, and we would have been able to do quite a bit more. But again, this was kind of this was back in like 2007. And granted, there was a lot of venture capital out there. We would a lot of access to that kind of money, but we were still trying to figure out how we wanted to do this. And really, what happened with the iPhone store coming into existence with Apple and the iPhone, that really created like a major pivot for us in terms of creating that app. because before it was a really interesting wine mobile website, but it was really difficult to monetize, right? It's super useful, but it was hard to monetize. Once the App Store came into existence, what it created was a marketplace for us to sell that information. So we started off as a $1.99 app, kind of thinking that we would beat out our competition because we'd be less expensive. Most of the apps are about $3.99. And I guess what you realize is with luxury products like jewelry, diamonds, wine, people view price with value. So we weren't getting as many downloads, and then once we doubled our price, we essentially more than quadrupled our downloads.
So the nice thing about our model is that we didn't really start off just kind of like self-capitalized, where we didn't really need a whole lot of money to start off. And so it was just kind of, like I said, working out of the back of a pickup truck. And the way the model works is it's a subscription. So customers are paying ahead of time, and then we're putting our orders in with the farms, and then we're paying the farms for the product. So starting off, we were able to have a really low overhead, and then as we grew, just kind of took money from the business to eventually purchase a refrigerated van. So that was probably the biggest investment that we've made to date for that. And so it's been some of our own personal money, but then also just investment from the business as well.
It was actually all out of pocket, and the kind of way we grow, I like to call it organic growth, and it's not the normal business model that anybody has, and some people actually think I'm out of my mind sometimes the way that we grow. And so we've always done 50% of the profit goes back into the business. So in the beginning, if you can imagine, I hustled for $5 on my own terms, put $2.50 into the soap company, just give you an example, made $1, put 50 cents back in the next time. So now we're like growing, every time. So then 50 cents and 50 cents the next month makes $1, and it's up into this day. And so we, put back in 50% of our profits to grow. So in a sense, we're always growing, but it's this organic model of we're always growing, and we're not gonna, take out a huge sum of money for this dream, and it may or may not come back, and then I may or may not, be in debt someday for it. So I encourage, younger people, or, anybody that has a young business to go that route, figure out where you can, work a side job, or figure out how you can have extra money for yourself, and then put that into your dream, and then grow with your profits, because it just, your business grows, you grow as a person, your family grows if you become a family after so many years, and it's just kind of an organic way to do business, I think.
So it started with trust. That's all it started with. So it started with no money down. Both times I started with the jam company, I started with the MacNut company. It was both, they fronted me the product, if you want to call it that. So they would deliver me the product, I would sell it, and then I would return them the fair amount of money. So basically I started with zero money down, and personally I think that's the way to go. People go out there and get big loans, there's nothing wrong with that, but if you're going with the nitty gritty and you don't have any funding behind you and you got to do it's more of a do or die situation, you're going to do it. If you have a bunch of money to sit on, you're like, okay, well I got 50,000 in the bank, I can kind of slack off and maybe not make that sale and maybe not talk to that person, well you're not going to do it. But if you have nothing behind you and like, man, if I don't do this, I'm going down, you're going to do it. So again, with the MacNuts, when I started working with them, again, they shipped me product, I sold it, shipped the money back, and just kept snowballing, kept going.
So both companies were actually completely bootstrapped. We did that for a couple reasons. I think for both companies at the time, I don't know that they were particularly fundable ideas to begin with. And so that was kind of one thing, to go put together a pitch deck and go search for money. Would it really have been worth the time, number one? And really, I guess probably more importantly was looking at it, did we need to do it? And we really didn't. With DevLeague, we decided to go out and get students and talk about the program, and basically we knew that once we got the students, the tuition paid for everything else. It paid for facilities, it paid for instructors, paid for operations, and so so that was kind of our initial assumption, and we actually were successful with that assumption, and still to this day, we haven't taken any outside funding for that, going into about to start our 12th cohort now. And same with Pseudocrew is that, getting, contract, work for software development was an area we thought that we could just go and kind of be successful in making those relationships, especially based on backgrounds and some of the network that we had here, especially around Honolulu. So, and then just kind of very far off in the distance, I think the mindset or kind of the pride, or I don't know, there's different words you could use, but of just kind of being accountable to nobody else but ourselves and be kind of in charge of our own destiny and feeling pretty confident that we could do that. So all those things kind of, I think, went into consideration, but yeah, officially on our filings, I think it's like $300 each partner on both companies. So we started a company with $600. So.
So the funding that I got came from me taking out a personal loan. So I took out a $5,000 loan, and I also used my savings. So my savings right now are a little bit low. And then when I got back home from Brazil in August, I found out about the Accelerate UH program. So Accelerate UH is an accelerator program through the University of Hawaii. And we were a phase 1 team, which means our company was in an idea stage. So we went through their, I think it's like 8-week program, and they gave us $25,000 after completing the program. And now we're in the phase 2, which is another 8 weeks, but we're gonna be receiving $50,000. So in total, we'll be receiving $75,000 from Accelerate.